Welcome everyone. Welcome to this fabulous Sunday, the last Sunday of the month. It's already June. It's already halfway through the year, fortunately and unfortunately at the same time. So today we'll go ahead, we'll just do our normal service. I'll start with a Dharma talk. We're not going to do meditation. We'll be speaking on loving kindness meditation today, so we can do that meditation after the service. But after the Dharma talk, we will go ahead and go into our regular general service chanting. So if you have the book, please join me. Otherwise, you can visit our website, and the link to the book, or at least to the general service, is on our services page. There is a link there for you to download. That way you at least have a copy of the chants for today. So we'll go ahead and get started. So please join me in invoking our teacher's name 3 times. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. I also do apologize if there's any technical difficulties going on with the live stream, or at least with the video part of it. I'm having some issues with that. I used to be tech savvy, but obviously a year and a half of being all monthly, I've lost some of those skills, but regardless, we will continue as is, so hopefully at least the audio part is good enough. Today we will be discussing on loving compassion, or loving kindness meditation, or metta meditation. It's one of the classes I've taught during the Intro to Buddhist Meditation class. We've also spoken briefly about it during one of our Buddhism 101 classes as well. But it's a very important, very useful tool and meditation to use, especially nowadays. We definitely need as much loving compassion and loving kindness as we can give, and receive. So I'll briefly just discuss what what it's about and how to practice it. So loving kindness meditation, or metta meditation, is essentially just having the altruistic wish for the happiness of all beings. And so when we meditate in loving compassion or loving kindness meditation, we are reciting a few phrases, and the phrases can vary depending on the practice, depending on the tradition, but essentially it all comes down to the same thing. And so when you're meditating on loving compassion, there are a few steps to it, right? So the first step is to recite the loving kindness phrases, which is, may I be happy, may I be safe, may I be healthy, may my mind be at ease. And it could be any variation of that, right? Essentially, you're just trying to ignite this mindset of wanting to, or wishing to be happy, wishing to be free from suffering, wishing to be. So first thing is we are meditating on ourselves. So you can either visualize yourself, you can have a out-of-body experience kind of a visualization, or just concentrate on your breath. And so when you're doing that, then you are reciting, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe, may my mind be at ease. And you want to recite that for at least 3 or more times, right? Concentrating on yourself, concentrating on your breathing, on your body. And then from there, you want to switch over to a loved one. So it can be a family member, your spouse, your children, anybody that you naturally have a love for, right? The same thing. May they be happy, may they be safe, may they be healthy, may their mind be at ease. And again, you want to do that for at least 3 or more times. And then from a loved one, you want to move on to a neutral person. So this could be either a coworker or a neighbor, or just someone you casually know as an acquaintance, or whatever. And again, you're reciting those phrases upon them. Next, you want to concentrate on someone you may dislike, right? So we typically don't want to hate anybody, right? As a mindfulness practitioner, as a Buddhist practitioner, we don't necessarily hate anybody, right? But if you dislike someone, or have, an arch nemesis or whatever, you can concentrate on them. And likewise, you want to say those phrases to them. And then lastly, you want to concentrate on all sentient beings. So this is everybody and everything, all the animals, all the living beings and creatures that are on Earth and in the universe. You want to concentrate on them. And again, wish them to be happy, to be safe, be healthy, um, and have their mind be at ease. And some of these parts are a little bit more difficult than others, obviously, right? Sometimes we don't want to necessarily wish happiness upon those we dislike or hate, right? We have a natural tendency sometimes to wish them ill will. But that ill will won't do any benefit for you, and it definitely won't be any benefit for them. A lot of times when people come into Buddhism, right, when they start first practicing Buddhism, and they want to know, how to be a Buddhist, and they always ask me, how do you become a Buddhist? What should I do? What should I envision myself to be like? And honestly, I don't tell them. I tell them not to try to be Buddhist, right? Being a Buddhist is nothing special. It's not a title we should be waving or necessarily proud of, but it should only be a reminder of what your practice is, a reminder of what we should be doing as human beings. And that is essentially to be practicing compassion, to practicing love, to be practicing equanimity and joy for all beings, right? Which is basically the four measurables. So when you're asking, if I'm being asked, how do I practice? How do I become a Buddhist? And I simply tell them that you don't need to be calling yourself a Buddhist. You don't need to do all this extensive work to be like a Buddhist or to change yourself necessarily to be more like a Buddhist. But really, it's all about the practice part. So instead of telling people, hey, I'm Buddhist, or hey, I'm practicing Buddhism, or hey, I'm interested, or I'm newly Buddhist, or whatever, instead of saying or doing those things, you simply just want to practice. Just practice what you know naturally. So that means, going to work or going to school and just practicing mindfulness, practicing compassion, practicing loving kindness to all people. And that alone, that action that you are doing to the world, to the community, to those around you, will naturally inspire others. They will see the change within yourself. That they will see the niceness that you, right? Sometimes in the past, maybe we have not been so nice to certain people or to people in general, right? We may have been a bully. We may have just been, the Karen of the world. And if people know you that way, right? And then if you start practicing compassion, start practicing loving kindness and being mindful, over time, people will see those changes within you. And then they may ask, what's changed, or what are you doing, or what's going on, right? And then you can, you can say that you're practicing mindfulness and meditation and Buddhism. So it's something that you want to show people, not tell people, right? Because especially nowadays, right, we are surrounded by so much discrimination and so much hate and injustice that it's clouding our mindfulness minds, right? We're seeing all these riots, we're seeing all these protests, we're seeing all this danger to the world and to our community, and it's heartbreaking. To see that happening, right? To see that happening now, especially when so many people are struggling, so many people are out of work, so many people are trying so hard to keep their business afloat or to keep food on their table, and to have people go out and riot like that and destroy these businesses is completely heartbreaking. And as citizens, we have the right to protest, but we want to protest harmoniously. We want to protest like a protest should be, right? And not destroying property, not burning down buildings or creating so much suffering to our community, because that is not changing anything. You destroying your local businesses is not changing anything. All this discrimination, all this hate, all this injustice that is going on in the world is infuriating, obviously. But what I've noticed and what I've seen, at least lately, is we are not so much angry with the injustice itself. We are angry with the people who think that that injustice is okay. And because of that discriminating mind that we have, because of that discrimination that we have, and that unmindfulness that we are creating all these destructions that we see happening now. And that's really a cause of us being unmindful, of us being of us having ignorance, right? Not ignorance in the sense that we don't know necessarily, but ignorance in the sense where we think our perceptions, our ideas are the correct, ultimate, supreme, right idea or right perception, right? I would also suggest to go back last week or this past Tuesday. Alex, one of our members, gave the talk on our Buddhism 101 class. He spoke about self and the idea of ego and self. And I would suggest and highly recommend everyone to go back and watch that video. It's very helpful, very informative, especially what's going on now. So back to loving kindness. I'm getting off topic now. But we can use loving kindness meditation to help us see things as they truly are, right? It can help uncloud our false perceptions, our false judgments, our false ideas. Because if all we're doing is attacking, right? If all we're doing is attacking and discriminating and showing how big our ignorance is, then we will continue, our society, our community will continue with the destruction that it's going on right now. And we really don't want that. It's not helpful to anybody. It's not changing anything, right? The more unfortunately, our society and our community are like children, right? When we tell children no, the more we say no, the more they're gonna want it. So the more destruction we do, the more angry people are gonna be. The more we try to defend our ideas, the more angry people are gonna be. We can't necessarily, it's very difficult to change people's ideas when they're so strong, when they're so tightly associated with themselves, right? We think our ideas, we think our opinions, our perceptions are ours. And so when someone says something that is contradictory to what we think is right, then that unfortunately causes anger. That causes, frustration within ourselves. And then from there, we kind of become defensive and judgmental. And so in order to avoid that, we have to practice mindfulness. We have to practice loving kindness, not only to everybody else, but to ourselves especially, because if we are feeling attacked, if we feel are against us or against what we're trying to say, then that's our problem, not their problem, right? Because someone disagrees with you, you think that they're wrong, but you may be wrong. But we are so tightly associated with our ideas that even if they're wrong, we're gonna always assume we are right. Even we may have some sense knowing that we are wrong, we're gonna stick with it because we associate ourselves with those ideas, with those perceptions. But when we practice mindfulness and when we're practicing loving kindness or just meditation in general, right? If we do these practices correctly, especially mindfulness, we can start peeling away some of those false perceptions, some of those false ideas, and expanding our horizon on certain views or certain topics, right? I always tell people if you are angry about a certain idea or person or whatever, to practice the why meditation, right? So you're sitting down, you're constantly asking yourself why. Why am I angry? Why do I think this way? Why do I feel such and such a way over such and such topic or whatever, right? You're continuously asking yourself. You're dissecting your idea by continuing to ask yourself why until you get to the core reason of what it is. And sometimes this will take time, sometimes this will take multiple sessions, but it's very helpful because if you are able to reach that core idea or core reason of whatever it is you're asking yourself why, then it'll hopefully give you an idea of what to do next. So it's either something that we have to eliminate completely from our lives. It could be certain people that we have to disassociate with. It can be certain places or ideas or whatever it may be, right? But if we're able to get to that core reason, then it'll help us kind of eliminate our strong egotistic mindset on it. But we will continue. But you continue to practice loving kindness. I keep going off subject. I apologize. But when we're practicing loving kindness, and this is also something that will take time to kind of adjust our mindset with, right? Sometimes when we're doing it and we're practicing loving kindness and we're reciting those phrases to ourselves, it'll temporarily give us some benefits, right? But eventually, over time, when we continue and we continue to practice loving kindness, and we're constantly doing the meditation, it'll reprogram your mind in a way where we are not discriminating based on first impressions. We're not discriminating based on what we are reading or being told or seeing, right? We're able to view what's going on based on wisdom, based on mindfulness versus blind faith, or versus just believing the first thing we hear or see or read. It'll give us an opportunity to, in a way, put ourselves in other people's shoes, give us the opportunity to see that everyone is suffering in some way, shape, or form, right? Even people who are rich, who are entitled, who have everything in life, they too are suffering. We may not be able to see it from outside because we see their lives based on how they want us to see it, right? And so we may think people are not suffering, but everybody suffers, right? Everyone has some sort of disadvantage. Everyone has some sort of illness or mindset that's provoking or that's causing their suffering, and we have to be able to acknowledge that. And so that's why sometimes it's difficult to practice loving kindness on people we dislike or people that we just really don't care for so much, right? The neutral people. But we have to extend that love. We have to be able to see everyone as equal, and be able to help as much people as we can, to be able to see things from multiple perspectives, multiple views, so that way we are getting a holistic view, a holistic idea, a holistic conclusion of what's going on, so that way we are better informed and will better know how to help others. Fortunately and luckily, I've also seen, even after all the destruction that's going on, people of the community have gone out the next day and helped clean up and help rebuild what was destroyed the night before, the day before. And so even doing that, right, that's a practice of loving kindness in itself. But we also want to be able to practice it in a way that the destruction doesn't happen at all. And even though we see and we believe that the injustice is not changing, or that people, whether it's our government or just people in general, are not changing, things, and we have to understand that change is not going to happen overnight. Change is going to take time. And I saw something this morning where I was mentioning Dr. Martin Luther King, where, you know, his protests and his speeches and his change also took time, right? And he didn't have to go through all the destruction. He didn't have to burn down houses or, you know, or destroy communities and businesses. He did it harmoniously, and he did it the right way. So we have to do the same, because when we go out and we start discriminating and we start judging and being, you know, disrespectful not only to the people but to our own community, then that's just gonna anger more people, and it's not gonna change, because your anger is causing this destruction, which is causing other people to be angry. So now you have double anger, versus if you're able to hold yourself back from being angry and breathe in for a while, right, and practice mindfulness, then that should hopefully eventually help you be able to kind of come back to yourself and remind yourself of your practice and of your mindfulness, and think of positive, productive ways that you can help make the change. And yes, we're only one person, you're only one person, and you want to make the change, but everything started from one person. Every change, every decision, everything that's been done in the world started from one person's idea or one person's inspiration or aspiration to do something. And it'll take time, but it will cause a domino effect. And your compassion and your loving kindness towards everybody and to yourself, as I mentioned earlier, you know, people will see that. It may not be overnight, it may not be within days or weeks or months, but over time that change will be seen. It will shine through all the negativity that's going on. But it will take time, just like our practice. Our practice will take time. We can't expect to read a sutra or read the Dharma or any of the scriptures and then instantly become enlightened. Yes, there are, you know, there are circumstances in the past with very intelligent sages or saints and arhats who that may have happened to, right? When they read or hear something, you know, enlightenment has come up. But we live in a different time where we're too distracted to be able to become enlightened instantly like that, unless we have a very strong practice. But like our practice, you know, like meditation itself, it's going to take diligence and persistence and time, and we have to allow ourselves, especially now, we have to give ourselves the time, give ourselves the opportunity to make the changes, to make efforts within ourselves, within our family, within our community and society, in order to see the changes, to be able to make the change. So we really have to stick with our practice pretty diligently. And I've always mentioned in the past, for meditation especially, you know, meditation doesn't have to be 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, more, right? For meditation especially, it's about the quality and not the quantity. So if we are practicing loving kindness meditation or metta meditation with great quality, right, with sincerity and with the genuine wish and hope that everyone is able to be happy, to be free from suffering, then that will eventually help change our mindset, so that when we go out to the world and see our community and see certain people or certain places, certain things, that we won't have a natural habitual negative reaction. We won't have to stop and think, do we want to help? Do I have time to help? Do I care about this person? to, whatever it may be. But by practice loving kindness, compassion, meditation, that it'll spark the natural, genuine tendency to want to help all people. It'll give us the ability to genuinely be generous to people. It will give us opportunity to want to help people, regardless of who they are, right? Now, when we go out or when we think of love and kindness and compassion, we may just naturally think of our loved ones, our family, right? That we only want to help our family, right? Because they're our family. We have to, right? It's kind of like a duh kind of thing, right? But in Buddhism, everyone's interrelated. We're all interconnected. We're all interrelated to all beings. So even the homeless people, even the people of different nationalities, different colors, different races, different genders, everyone is interconnected. We're all interconnected. We're all interconnected. We're all interrelated because we're all human beings. So when we go out and we see certain people or places or things, right? We have a natural, habitual tendency to judge, to discriminate based on who or what they are. And that's our false idea. That's our false thinking of judgment, of discrimination, and we have to get away from that. And we do that by practicing mindfulness, and by practicing loving kindness, and by just meditating in general. Because we have to come to the realization that, people are different, but we too are different, and we have to practice. We have to live our lives by allowing ourselves to help others without having to think about it, right? I think a couple of weeks ago when I spoke about generosity, I mentioned that genuine generosity is just the altruistic ability and wish to help people without having to think about it, right? So a genuine help or genuine generosity is the mindset of giving without wanting to receive anything back. It's a mindset of giving without having to think about it, right? So if you have to think about, do you have time to help? Do you want to help? Do they deserve our help? If you have to think like that, then it's not a genuine, generous act. So it's the same thing when we practice loving kindness. It's the same thing when we see different people, different kinds of people. If we have to kind of think and assume that they're different than us, and that's the reason why we don't want to help, and then we're not practicing genuine compassion, we're not practicing genuine mindfulness. But meditation helps with that, and especially loving kindness meditation will help with that. But like everything else, it is something that takes practice and it takes time. So I do encourage everyone to practice that as much as they can, when they can. So now after the service, I do try to encourage you to meditate on loving kindness. Just spend a few minutes, right? Just say the phrases, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe, may my mind be at ease. Just say that at least 3 times. And, go from yourself to a loved one, to someone that's neutral, to someone you dislike, and then to all sentient beings, all other people. And repeat that at least 3 times, right? And it doesn't really take more than 10 minutes. But practice it genuinely, practice it with an open mind and open heart. And then after a while, it'll change something within you, and you'll feel it when you kind of go out into the world and you start interacting with people. You'll notice the change in yourself, and other people notice the change within you as well. You'll notice, and you'll feel more compassion. You'll feel more loving. You'll feel more free, because you're letting your mind let go of those discriminations that we may have once had. So that is my talk today. I know I've gone off topic probably way more times than I intended to, But feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and I'll try to reply to those questions if I can. If you also visit the Intro to Meditation group on our Facebook page, there is a download or an article that you can read about loving kindness meditation that I put up for the meditation class. So that post is up either on our website and also on the meditation group. So feel free to visit any of those two places. You can read the lesson plan, I guess you can call it, on loving kindness that I created for the meditation group or class. Otherwise, the meditation class actually is starting back up. So I will start doing that virtually again, starting June 13th. Again, it will continue every second and fourth Saturday of the month like it used to at 10 a.m. It will be live, it will be on YouTube like it usually is. And also starting tomorrow, for my, I know I've been doing them Amitabha Sutra chants in the evening. I'll probably continue to do those. I will try, starting tomorrow, I'll be doing one chapter of the Lotus Sutra a day. I'll be chanting only the verses of each chapter, so it's not too long. And I'll try to do that during the afternoons, like I'm supposed to. So starting tomorrow, I don't believe tomorrow afternoon I'll be able to do it. So maybe tomorrow evening, instead of the Amitabha, I'll do the chapter 1 of and then every day from there, I'll do one chapter of the Lotus to chant for the afternoon or in the evening. And you can download. We use the Lotus Sutra that's translated by Bert Watson. That's a very good translation, probably one of my favorite translations of the Lotus Sutra. You can find a free copy of it online, a PDF copy. I think literally just translate or just search Lotus Sutra Bert Watson PDF and it'll be somewhere. That way you can follow along to it. Again, I'll only be doing the verses of each part, which is the basically kind of like the verses are essentially like the summary of whatever was said before. That way it's not too long, because some of those chapters are very long. So doing just the verses kind of cuts it down just a bit, and that'll help everyone keep their attention. So that will start tomorrow. So I'll go ahead and close out. We will transfer the merits, and we'll just go to our general service chants. So again, if you have the book, please follow along in the book. You can also download it from our website by going to our website and going to the services page, and then somewhere there's a link to download our chant book, and it's just going to be the general service. So we'll go ahead and transfer merit. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. For any positive karmic action may be accumulated here today, we transfer the merit to all sentient beings and wish them full enlightenment. Body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness, I send my heart along with the sound of the May the hearers awaken forgetfulness and transcend all anxiety and sorrow. Listen, listen, this wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. In gratitude we offer this incense to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout space and time. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting our careful efforts, our wholehearted mindfulness, and the fruit of understanding. Slowly ripening, may we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awake from forgetfulness and realize our true home. The incense in the center now is burning, all the Dharma realm in every place auspicious. Clouds appearing, our sincere intentions thus fulfilling. All Buddhas now show their perfect body, homage to the sense cloud canopy, Bodhisattva and great Bodhisattvas. Homage to the eternally abiding Buddhas, the supreme Dharma, insatiably sung throughout the realm and the three realms of empty space and periods of time. Homage to the fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha Maitreya, honor future Buddha Manjushri, great wisdom Bodhisattva, universal great Doug Bodhisattva, all Dharma guarding Deva Bodhisattva. Send the magic mountain assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Homage to Amitabha Buddha in the land of ultimate Savarokiteshvara, great compassion Bodhisattva, great strength Bodhisattva, her sword, great vow Bodhisattva, and the assembly of great piercing light Bodhisattvas. The great compassion with 1,000 hands and 1,000 eyes on anyone like this. Namo Ratna Tripayaya Namo Arya Avalokiteshvaraya Bodhisattvaya Mahakarunikaya Hum Sarvadavati Sodana Sasya Namaskitva Namanarya Avalokiteshvara Nandava Namo Tashi Mahapashvami Sarva Amashiyam Sarva Sattva Namo Vasava Namo Bhagama Vate Tutaryata Homa Valo Vasin Varashaya Holo Holo Pra Holo Holo Shis Sara Siri Siri Soro Soro Bodaya 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 Maitreya Narak Krishna Ane Swaha Siddhaya Swaha Maha Siddhaya Swaha Siddhaya Vishwaraya Swaha Nyan Swaha Pranira Swaha Shisama Hokaya Swaha Sarva Maha Ya Swaha Chakrahasaya Swaha Manvakashaya Swaha Kadaya Swaha Bhava Vishankaraya Swaha Namo Ratnashraya Namo Arya Keteshvara Yanto Mantra Pataya Swaha. The Dharma body is bringing morning light in concentration. My heart is at peace, a half smile is worn on my lips. This is a new day and I bow through it in mindfulness. The sun of wisdom has risen, shining in every direction. Noble Sangha, bring your mind into meditation. Namo Shakyamunaya Bodhaya. Namo Shakyamunaya Bodhaya. Shakyamunaya Bodhaya. The one who bows and the one who is bowed to are both by nature empty. Therefore the communication between them is inexpressibly. Practice center is a net of Indra, reflecting all Buddhas everywhere, as my own person reflects in all Buddhas to whom whole life I go for refuge. Offering light in the 10 directions, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, to whom we bow in gratitude. Teaching and living the way of awareness in the very midst of suffering and confusion. Shakyamuni Buddha, awakened one, to whom we bow in gratitude. Cutting through ignorance, awakening our hearts and our minds. Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of great understanding, we bow in gratitude. Working mindfully, working joyfully for the sake of all beings. Samanta Bhadra, the Bodhisattva, great action, to whom we bow in gratitude. Responding to suffering, serving beings in countless ways. Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, great compassion, to whom we bow in gratitude. Seed of awakening and loving kindness in children, sprouts, and all beings. Maitreya, the Buddha, to be born, to whom we bow in gratitude. Showing the way fearlessly and compassionately, the stream of all our ancestral teachers, we bow in gratitude. The Dharma is deep and lovely, we now have a chance to see it and practice it. We vow to realize the true meaning. The hearts of Prajna Paramita, the Bodhisattva Avalokita, while moving in the deep course of perfect understanding, shed light on the five skandhas and found them equally empty. After this penetration, he overcame ill-beingness and Shariputra. Emptiness is form, form is not other than emptiness, emptiness is not other than form. The same is true with feelings, perception, formations, and consciousness. Listen, Shariputra, all dharmas are mocked with emptiness. They produce nor destroy, neither defile nor immaculate, neither increasing nor decreasing. There is neither form nor feelings, no perceptions nor mental formations or consciousness, no eye or ear or nose or tongue or body or mind, smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realms of elements, no interdependent origins, and no extinction of them. No will be, no being, no end of ill being, and no path, no understanding, no attainment, because there is no attainment. The Bodhisattva is grounded in perfect understanding. Having no obstacles, they understanding is the highest mantra, the unequal mantra. Will being the incorruptible truth, the mantra prajna paramita should therefore be proclaimed. Gate gate para gate para samgate bodhi swaha gate gate para samgate bodhi swaha gate gate para samgate bodhi swaha. We invoke your name, Avalokiteshvara. We aspire to learn your way of listening in order to relieve the suffering in the world. You know how to listen in order to understand. We invoke your name in order to practice listening. Attention and open-heartedness, we will sit and listen without any prejudice. We will sit and listen without judging or reacting. We will sit and listen. We will sit and listen so attentively we will be able to hear what the other person is saying and also what left unsaid. We know that just by listening deeply we already alleviate a great deal of pain and suffering in the other person. Invoke your name, Manjushri. We aspire to learn your way, which is to be still and to look deeply into the heart of things and into the hearts of people. We will look attention and open-heartedness. We will look with unprejudiced eyes. We will look without judging or reacting. We will look deeply so that we will be able to see and understand the roots of suffering, permanent and selfless nature of all that is. We will practice your way of using the sword of understanding, bonds of suffering, ourselves and other species. We invoke your name, Samanta Bhadra. We aspire to practice your vow to act with the hinds and heart with passion, to bring joy to one person in the morning and to ease the pain of one person in the afternoon. We know that of others is our own happiness, and we aspire to practice joy on the path of service. We know that every word, every look, every action, and every smile can bring others. We know that if we practice wholeheartedly, we ourselves may become an inexhaustible source of peace and joy for our loved ones and for all species. We invoke your name, Shittigarva. We aspire to learn your way of being present where there is darkness, suffering, oppression, and despair, so we can bring light, hope, relief, and liberation to those places we are determined not to forget about. Those in desperate situations, we will do our best to establish contact with those who cannot find a way out of their suffering, those whose cries for help, justice, and human rights are not being heard. We know that help can be found in many places on earth. We will do our best not to contribute earth and to help transform the hells that already exist. We will order to realize the qualities of perseverance and stability, so that like the earth we can always be supportive to those in need. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Dwelling in the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, Many doors on the path of transformation, dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. Taking refuge in the Buddha and myself, I aspire to help all people recognize their awakened nature. The mind of love, taking refuge in the Dharma. In myself, I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation. Taking refuge in the Sangha. In myself, aspire to help all people build fourfold communities to embrace all beings and support their transformation. Reciting the sutras, practicing the way of awareness gives rise to benefits without limits. We vow to share fruits with all beings. We vow to offer friends and numerous beings who give guidance and support along the path.